forward to that. I'd rather not be there for a loss, but it is what it is if they end up keeping the pick. And so we're starting locally with the Kings hosting the Mavericks in the 10-9 play-in game in the Western Conference.
Kings.
Because for sake of time, we are going to keep it moving here, and we'll just go around the panel, give brief analysis and a pick for the game. I'll start things off. I'm going to pick the Kings in this one. If Kyrie Irving was playing in this game, Jaevon's guy, then I would probably pick the Mavericks. But because Kyrie is out for the year, unfortunately, and it dates back to when the Kings last played the Mavericks in Dallas, and it was very unfortunate. It was a Monday night when that happened. We recorded the podcast right after, and we had feared the worst, and that's exactly what ended up happening. But I'm picking the Kings in this 10-9 matchup. Jaevon, how about you?
Yeah, I'm picking the Kings too. They traded Luka Doncic away from the team. I don't know if you guys know, but yeah,
interesting.
That happened. Kyrie's out for the year, and just a bunch of injuries on the Mavs. I think they're just depleted, and maybe the fire of Nico Chance will come to fruition at Golden One Center.
Yeah, and as Osmosis Jones says on YouTube, I'm a Kings fan too. What's up? Hope they win then. I do as well. And also want to give a shout out to Dad Dent, a.k.a. Smooth, who says, what's up, fam? And so now, Alex, who are you picking in this one between the Kings and the Mavericks?
I would like for the Sacramento Kings to light the beam one more time. And then it will be the end of an era.
Yeah, I think that's pretty accurate. Kevin, my fellow Kings fan, we heard how you feel earlier in the pod, but what's the analysis behind it?
So the Kings are 3-0 against the Mavericks this season. As we all know, they've had completely different rosters. They were at a point having to forfeit games because they didn't have enough eligible players. With all that being said, I'm going to take the Mavericks. I know, Kevin's a homer, A, B, C, and D. I would prefer us to have a top 12 pick than have no first-round pick. So we like Shaun mentioned, we're going to blow it up here soon. So it's easier to do that with a top 12 draft pick.
Yeah, and also Blue agrees that he wants the Kings to keep the draft pick. And as Osmosis Jones says, when did the Kings roster become the play-in Bulls? Wes, shake my damn head. And we will get to the Bulls in just a moment. But before we do, we're going to stay in the Western Conference and get to tomorrow, Tuesday night's 7-8 matchup, which is going to be a good one between Ja Morant and all of his various celebrations and the Golden State Warriors, who just barely and for our audio-only listeners, you're missing out on great content because Jaevon and Alex simultaneously threw a grenade and held their ears. Literally,
Did you see what he said? Did you see what he said about the celebration?
What did he say?
He was like, it's not a grenade. He was like, y'all don't know what I'll be. He said he was like he's blocking out the haters or something like that.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, I've seen all the Grand Theft Auto memes.
The memes are
too. Yeah, those have been pretty funny. But I mean, to Ja's point, before we get to the actual game, to Ja's point, it's very hypocritical of the NBA. Like I know that, as Toddy, you like to call him Ja's the Dangler, as he loves to pull out a real gun and put it on Instagram. But it's pretty, yeah, as Toddy dangles his phone. But it's pretty hypocritical considering that. For years, players have been doing bow and arrow celebrations. They've been doing their own shooting celebrations. But because Ja Morant has gotten caught up posting a real gun, it's not okay for him to do it, but the rest of the league can do it. It's pretty hypocritical. But nevertheless, in this game, I'm going to go with the Golden State Warriors. The Warriors just barely missed out on getting an actual playoff spot yesterday when they lost on national TV. And yes, as Toddy's alluding to, days prior, Harrison Barnes came back and got some revenge against the Golden State Warriors as he hit a game winner against them. And I just wish that he could have done that 2 years ago when I was there for game 4 of the first round. And he had a 3 to put the Kings up 3-1, and he clanked that shit. So thank you, Harrison Barnes. Congrats on playing another 82-game season. Anyways, I'm going with the Warriors. Alex, who you got in this matchup?
Wow.
Yeah, can you tell that there's still like a lot of pent-up aggression from that series? Yeah, definitely, Kevin.
I think I'm gonna go with Memphis. But if I'm So this is the 7-8. So this whoever wins gets the 7th seed, right? So they play the Rockets.
Yes.
I kind of want the Warriors to win because I feel like the Warriors could potentially beat the Rockets. But I think out of this Warriors, I think the Warriors are 0-3. Yeah, they're not good. I have Memphis.
All right, Kevin, who you got?
I'm going Memphis as well. We saw Jimmy Butler have a back injury. We saw Steph Curry have a thumb injury. So they would have really been able to benefit from having this week off to prepare for the playoffs. But now that they're going to have to rally and play in a playing game, Alex mentioned they're 0-3 in the playing game. So it's going to be interesting to kind of see how this plays out. But I would prefer the Warriors to play because I think it'd be a better series versus the Rockets. But I think the Warriors are just burnt out at this moment. They tried so hard. They were before Jimmy. I think they were the 11th seed, and then they got all the way up to 4, and now they're back down to 7. So it just kind of goes to show like the roller coaster ride that the Warriors have been on this year. So I think it kind of ends here, and they go 0-4 in the play-in. And like we're expecting the Kings to do, I think the Warriors might say, "I'm gonna hit the big red button." So I'm going to take the Memphis Grizzlies.
You're right.
Toddy, are you going to make this the second consecutive matchup that has a 3-1 vote from the panel, or are you going to split it down the middle?
I like the Warriors tomorrow. They're actually minus 300. That's crazy. I don't know. Somebody's supposed to be hurt. So, I mean, Kevin, you guys can put some money on it. Grizz are plus 250 tomorrow. So I don't know how you're feeling about that. But I do like Golden State tomorrow. I just think I did see a stat that the Warriors have not won a play-in game. So you might be up to something there. But I do think the Warriors, Jimmy Butler, Steph, Draymond, a lot of experience, championship experience between a lot of those guys. So I feel like they'll end up getting it done. Don't know where. I think the Grizzlies are reeling a little bit. They don't have their coach. They just fired their coach. Let's take that into consideration. But I think I remember a couple of years ago when the Grizzlies, I think, was that the first play-in game when it was the Grizzlies versus the Warriors and Ja? That was an insane game. I remember that game. It was nice to remember. But, yeah, I think the Warriors come out on top tomorrow. I like Steph Curry. Big game tomorrow.
Yeah, and if I recall correctly, it was the Lakers and Warriors that preceded that, and then we got that matchup between the Grizzlies and the Warriors. But Alex, did you want to jump in real quick?
I totally forgot to. I might change. I'm so iffy about this because we also have playoff Jimmy, and I forgot about him. He took a play-in team to the finals, so I don't want to discredit him.
But he was gimping around yesterday, though.
He was.
But this is playoff Jimmy though. This is what he lives for. So I don't know. I'm gonna still go with Memphis. I'm gonna keep my word. But
all right.
Before we move on, Shaun, Toddy mentioned NBA championship pedigree. There are 5 players from that championship team on this team.
All right.
Take that for whatever you want.
It also shows how quickly the NBA changes because if I remember correctly, Gary Payton II is one of those guys, but he also was briefly not on the Warriors as he went to Portland up near Kevin. And as Osmosis Jones says, Steph had 12 threes in Memphis a few weeks ago. And Steph also had 15 points entering the fourth quarter yesterday, and he finished with like 36 before they started doubling him on every single play. And so Steph was cooking indeed. Toddy, the chef, was present. Now, we're moving over to the Eastern Conference in the play-in round, and we're sticking with the other 7-8 matchup as the Hawks are going to be playing in Orlando against the Magic. Toddy, as you indicate, you're very cold right now at the home that you're in. And so who are you going with between Atlanta and Orlando?
Give me Ice Trey. He's like the play-in king. I think he's undefeated. His record in the play-in. Cat, you can probably look that up. But I just love Trey in these one game scenarios. Predicting a really big game from him. Jalen Suggs not playing has something to do with it as well. Him being out and Mo Wagner being out. I think that will hurt more than help the Magic. Obviously, they still have Paolo Banchero, who's due for a huge game in these type of playoff setting moments. But I like Trae Young to have probably a 25-12 type of game. But I feel like Kevin found something. Oh no! Oh,
Kevin, you're muted, so we don't know.
Yeah, no, I couldn't find anything. I was trying to find it. So
Yeah.
they've only lost one game in the play-in.
Yeah, Trey's really good in these playoff scenarios. So if you do like you're a gambling man like myself, Hawks are plus 175 tomorrow. So good return on your investment.
And I have to highlight this comment just because it made me laugh. But Osmosis Jones says, "Is anybody watching those East play-in games or either series those winners play in? I, for one, am not." The panelists above me and also to my left on the screen, they likely will be watching those series just because their beloved Boston Celtics will be putting on a whooping in one of them. And again, NBA TV teams. I agree. But Kevin, who do you got in the Hawks versus the Magic?
Dude, this is such a toss-up game. It really comes down to the other guys. Is Franz Wagner going to come to play? Is Dyson Daniels and Clint Capella? It's all about the other guys because we obviously know that Trae Young and Paolo Banchero are going to come do their thing. But it comes down to the other guys, and I'm going to take the Orlando Magic because I think the other guys are better. Yes, Dyson Daniels could, be first team all defense. I get that. Later in steals in the NBA this year, huge improvement. But the Magic have the playoff experience. I get it. I remember the Hawks went to the Eastern Conference Finals 17,000 years ago. I remember. Yeah, I was there. But I'm going to take the team that has the most experience. And they took arguably the best team in the NBA to 6. Did they lose to the Cavs in 6 last year?
7.
So they took arguably the best team in the NBA to 7 last year. So they have the experience. Now Paulo's been into the big game, so I'm going to take the Orlando Magic.
Alex, who do you got in this one and why?
I have the Hawks only because kind of what Kevin was saying, but I disagree with one thing. Was you think Magic's other guys are better? The Magic don't have other guys. All of them are injured.
Who on the Hawks is better than Franz Wagner besides Trae Young?
The guy from the Cavs, LeVert.
Oh, no way. No way.
I almost ended the stream.
Okay. If I could be blunt, I was just saying a random name. I don't know.
Of course you were. We can tell.
On the Hawks besides him and Trae Young and like Capella. I have no idea who's there. Because I know Bogdanovich left.
Yeah.
And they probably have someone else that left. So I just don't think the Magic have enough. I would like to see them win, don't get me wrong, but I feel like the Magic will probably be the 8th seed.
Okay, and to your point, Alex, as well, DeJounte Murray, before getting hurt, he also moved on from Atlanta as he became a New Orleans Pelican. But in this matchup, I'm going to go with the Orlando Magic, and I'm simply going with the Magic because I had Franz Wagner on my fantasy team this year, and this fantasy team missed the playoffs with the second most points scored in the league, and I just had bad luck. Don't need to talk about my fantasy team anymore. That's why I'm going with that pick, is I'm going with the Magic, which leads us to the perennial play-in teams, the Miami Heat and the Chicago Bulls, as the Bulls will be hosting the Heat. Obviously, both teams have a new look coming into this year's play-in, as the Heat are without Jimmy Butler, and the Bulls are now led by Josh Giddey, basically. And so, Alex, who do you got in this matchup and why?
Gosh, I don't even care. I'm going to go with the Heat. Just throw it up in there.
All right.
Yeah.
Kevin, how about you?
I'm going to go with the Bulls. The Bulls are 3-0 versus the Heat this year. We've seen that Bam arguably cannot be a number 2 option. Tyler Hero stepped up with Jimmy Butler being gone, and Bam kind of has been really up and down this year. And I don't think Tyler Hero can lead them to a win. Josh Giddey has been getting a lot of slander, but we are seeing this is the prime position that Josh Giddey needs to be in. We saw him in OKC last year playing off the ball. He needs the ball in his hand. He's the playmaking. So him and Kobe White, they have been playing really well right now. They're like the Rockets of last year, the last month of the year. They've just been playing really hot, really well. So I'm going to take the Atlanta Hawks. I'm going to take the Chicago Bulls.
Jaevon, who do you got in this matchup between the two perennial play-in teams, the Heat and the Bulls?
I like the Bulls to win. They've been playing weirdly good in the month of March, but if you kind of look at all the teams that they're playing, most guys are sitting out. They're doing this and that, but yeah, they've been playing a bunch of, I'd say, the teams that they've been playing up against, they'll be good teams, but somebody's not playing, or they'll catch them on back-to-back, something like that. But the Bulls have been playing really good in March. Could be a little bit misleading. But I do see a Kobe White crazy playing game. He's kind of known for that. Every time the Bulls make the play-in pretty regularly. I feel like all of these teams, most of these teams that are in the play-in, they're like usual suspects, if that makes it like they're prime for these types of games. Last year I think Kobe White had like a 40 piece in the play-in. I like to see him probably play pretty well. I think Buzelis will have a really good game. They're a rookie who's had a pretty solid season. I think we'll see a pretty big game for him, which will foreshadow what I think he'll be going forward. And I think we'll probably get a good game from Josh Giddey. And ultimately, I just think the Heat, given their season, hasn't really gone well. I mean, once upon a time, I think they lost 9, 10 straight. It got really bad. I don't know what they're going to be looking for going forward. Maybe they'll be one of those teams looking to get Kevin Durant. Tyler Hero, obviously, coming off one of his great statistical seasons. I mean, he was an all-star this past year. As far as the season goes as a team, not so great. Bam Adebayo's having a down year. I just think the Miami Heat are trending downwards, and the Chicago Bulls, ironically, are trending up as far as how recently they've been playing well, and Miami Heat have been playing not so good. So I don't think the Bulls are going to make the playoffs, but I think they get this game and end up sending Miami on their way home, packing pretty early. So it's going to be very interesting. I don't think a lot of people are going to watch this game because these are probably two of the worst teams. But yeah, if you like to gamble like myself, I'll probably be locked in. Give me Chicago.
And Toddy, while I don't dispute anything that you just said, I'm going to pick the Heat for two reasons. Number one, if I'm looking at the head coaching matchup between Eric Spoelstra and Billy Donovan, I'm going to go with experience in Eric Spoelstra. As Alex said earlier, when it came to Jimmy Butler, not only did Jimmy Butler lead them from the play-in to the NBA Finals, but Eric Spoelstra was at the helm of that team. And the other factor that I'm picking Miami with in this one is just looking at the core. I'd rather have the core of Tyler Hero, Bam Adebayo, and even Andrew Wiggins compared to a core of Josh Giddey, Kobe White, Nikola Vucevic. Kobe White could go off again, as Toddy was alluding to, but I'm going to go with Miami in this one, mainly because I'm just a big believer in Eric Spoelstra, one of the few coaches in the NBA who's still untouchable. And I feel weird even saying that because he could end up getting fired, based on the way that the trends are going in the NBA. Greg Popovich may get fired, but he'll just say he's retiring instead. This is just the NBA nowadays, and the NBA is just trending towards younger coaches. I have to highlight one of these comments that made me smirk when Toddy was talking. But Tyler Hero, Guitar Hero, Superhero, Bulls in one from Osmosis Jones. That's hilarious. I thought that was great. All right, so guys, for this last round of the play-in games, which is going to be Friday, this is all to be determined based on who wins, who loses. So you got to keep in mind who you picked in the 9-10 matchup who to win and who you picked to lose in the 7-8 matchup. So I'll just start with myself, and we'll go one by one for each conference. So I have the Kings winning in the 9-10 matchup, and I have the Grizzlies losing in the 7-8. So I would have the Kings playing in Memphis against the Grizzlies on Friday. As much as the homer in me would love to pick the Sacramento Kings, I'm going to go with the Dangler, Ja Morant, and the coachless Grizzlies to win that matchup. So then in my East 9-10 matchup, I have the Heat winning. And then in the 7-8 matchup, I have the Hawks losing. So then that gets the Heat versus the Hawks. As much as I would love to pick the Heat in this one, based on everything I just said, it's actually getting quite cold in my house right now. So I'm going to go with Trae Young and the Atlanta Hawks. Kevin, keep in mind who you pick to win, who you pick to lose. Let's hear your Friday matchups for the play-in and the 8 seed.
Perfect. So I chose the Mavericks over the Kings, and I chose the Memphis Grizzlies over the Warriors. So that means it'd be the Memphis Grizzlies versus the Kings. Or no, Memphis Grizzlies versus the Kings, correct?
Did you just say you picked the Grizzlies over the Warriors?
Versus the Mavericks.
Yeah, it would be the Warriors and the Mavericks.
Warriors versus the Mavericks. Okay, and then I would have the Warriors beating the Mavericks, and then I would have the Magic winning and the Bulls winning. So that means it would be a Magic versus Heat, and I'm going to take the Magic.
All right, Alex, keep in mind who you pick to win and lose. What are your matchups for Friday, and who do you got getting the 8 seeds?
Yes, so I have for the 9 and 10 the Kings winning. So, and then I have the Warriors losing, and I think the Warriors will get that 8th spot.
All right.
Then in the East, I have the Heat winning, and then I have the Hawks losing. I remember.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna go with the Heat winning, so they'll get the 8th.
Yeah, that was a bold pick that I was not willing to make. Jaevon, how about you?
So I have the Kings. The Kings would be playing against for me, the Grizzlies. I have the Grizzlies beating the Kings, sending them on their way. And then I would have the Hawks playing against the Magic. Yes, Hawks against the Magic. I'm going to say the Hawks because I'm a Trae guy. So Hawks get the 8 seed.
All right. So now let's get to the NBA playoffs first round preview. And so obviously the 7-8 seeds are still to be determined, but we can assume based on the information that we